Unscripted.
Sony seems to never stop innovating, and what I mean by that is, even from the beginning, they were bringing things to the table that other companies simply weren't doing, and they weren't really kind of taking no for an answer. And what I mean by that is, if you just look at the way that they kind of stormed into things, sort of with a chip on their shoulders, understandably so, okay? I mean, if we look at this at a reasonable kind of way, the PlayStation exists only because of a bad deal gone wrong with Nintendo, and without that we wouldn't even have the PlayStation that we know today. And again, sometimes like that kind of anger and that kind of wanting to come up and really kind of can drive somebody in a company in particular, and thankfully so. They went full on with a 3D console. Who knows what we would have had if not for that? Maybe another generation of 2D stuff, but you know, they really kind of forced Sega's hand to go in and re-implement the Saturn, for better or for worse, because it wasn't intentionally going to be a 3D console. But you know, even with that, you know, the DualShock and just the way that things were, and I'm not saying that Sony does all the inventing. Obviously Nintendo and Microsoft and, you know, every company has kind of brought something to the table. I just feel like what Sony's been able to do time and time again is kind of almost reinvent the wheel. Look at the PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation 4. You know, they did so many different things there that maybe didn't even need to be done because they were already kicking so much butt. Let's just be real about it. And you know, they really forced Microsoft to pretty much out of the console space, forced Microsoft to really release games everywhere because they couldn't just do it by releasing it on Xbox because nobody was buying Xbox. So you know, Sony's really done a good job at these type of things, and now they've taken it one step further. And this is something that I talked about a little bit before in a video, and I kind of wanted to cover it again because now some new information has come out about it, and this is some interesting hardware stuff. It just goes to show you that Sony definitely knows what they're doing, and they're moving in the right direction. And a lot of people that were touting 12 T-flops and stuff about the Xbox Series X were, you know, pretty much doing it for nothing. I mean, let's just be real about it. So let's get into this. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel, and it means a lot to me personally. And if you're looking to help out a small channel like mine, the best way to do that is a simple like. It really does mean a lot, and you know, at the end of the day, I can't ask for much more than that, and it's free for you, and it means everything to me. So thank you guys so much. Shout out real quick to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, and everybody in between. You are amazing people, and I appreciate the support each and every one of you have offered me. I've loved the interaction, whether it be on PSN, Xbox Live, or Twitter, or wherever. You know, it's always much appreciated. So one of the things that's going to be prevalent in this upcoming generation, much like, you know, believe it or not, guys, like the temporal resolution and projection and all that kind of stuff, and the techniques that they used for this current generation to get like 4K, like Sony and Microsoft both utilize those different techniques, interlacing and stuff like that, to get 4K, quote unquote. You know, that stuff wasn't even available. That technology wasn't even there at the beginning of this generation. So it really came into its own being able to do that, and really kind of started to make resolution less and less of a thing that really mattered. And, you know, going into next generation, people, I think most people, even like Digital Foundry and developers, are saying, you know, resolution is certainly a thing of the past, and they've given us multiple instances as to why it's a thing of the past. And one of the biggest things that I can say is I was right, and this was something that I called time and time again in multiple videos, and now we have more clarifications on that. So let me take you guys back to the Unreal Engine 5 demo that we saw running on PlayStation 5. Nobody knew what resolution that was running at. Most people assumed that it was 4K. It was actually 1440p running with you know, DLSS, machine learning, and things like that. Now Sony has a new patent that is a very DLSS like sampling technique that is going to be used on PlayStation 5 games, and this is something that I was telling people would happen. Okay, so basically what this means is it looks like we're going to get performance modes and everything anyway on PlayStation 5 games, but this would mean like they could do something that, like, utilizing DLSS and get a 4K image but using only 1440p, because getting a 4K image natively takes a lot of power and a lot of oomph out of the console. So basically what DLSS will actually do, and Digital Foundry has used various instances of sort of comparing this kind of stuff in the past, but basically it takes a 1440p image and makes it look even better than 4K at times. So I'm not saying that's the point every time, but it's what the new cards and video cards and stuff like that are utilizing. So according to this, basically they're used on PS5 games to improve the resolution of games using AI learning. So this is what it says: an information processing device for acquiring a plurality of reference images obtained by imaging an object that is to be reproduced, acquiring a plurality of converted images obtained by enlarging or shrinking each of the reference images, executing machine learning using a plurality of images to be learned as teaching data. That includes the plurality of coveted images and generating pre-learned data that is used for generating a reproduction image that represents the appearance of the objects. So what DLSS stands for is deep learning super sampling, and basically it's an AI powered technique that can give lower resolution visuals the impression that they are at a much higher resolution. For example, most DLSS 2.0 technology looks better than 4K, and the Unreal Engine 5 demo, as I said earlier, was using sampling techniques to make it look like a higher resolution than the 1440p it was running on. Most people, like I said, thought that this was like a native 4K thing. Now, it makes a lot of sense for the PlayStation 5 to do this. It allows you to use processing power elsewhere, like, you know, let's say ray tracing. And we know PlayStation 5 is doing insane levels of ray tracing already. Much more so than even Digital Foundry thought. They actually gave props to Sony for doing more ray tracing already than what they thought was possible or that we would actually see, and I think that's absolutely a great thing. So basically you can keep upping the visuals of your game, and it's going to make the PlayStation 5 even more efficient, and it's going to be able to work smarter and use its power in better ways rather than just being a more powerful machine. So DLSS is a NVIDIA owned piece of technology, which seems to suggest that Sony and AMD have collaborated to create their own vision and their own version of the technique that's going to be available to run on the hardware on the PlayStation 5. So again, this is nothing but good news if you think about it on the PlayStation 5. This is absolutely the type of news that a lot of people are going to be talking about. I believe that the Xbox Series X does something similar to this as well, so it's good news for them as well. But they're the ones that more or less were kind of hyping 4K 60 and all this stuff on everything, where I think that like they get that into people's minds, where Sony has kind of like not really talked much about native resolutions as much. They're capable of doing 4K. On the box it says 8K, so we just have to kind of take it for what it's at. But again, this is huge because it's much more than just resolution. If you can get something, and I've even seen people on PC that'll drop their resolution to like 480p, right, or 480i, whatever it is, and they'll go using DLSS, and it looks incredible, and it allows them to up their frame rates and like everything else. So imagine doing that with the amount of options that we're going to be getting on the PlayStation 5, just in general, next generation, Xbox Series X as well. We're getting a lot of options for performance, for this enhancements, those enhancements. So I do like that as a fact that we're going to be able to get these options, because I feel like it's something that we should be getting just as fans, and it makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. And so it's very cool to see that happening, and I gotta say, it really impresses me, with what they were able to sort of accomplish, and it impresses me with what what both these companies are able to accomplish in the hardware space, but in particular what Sony was able to accomplish just kind of like right under Microsoft's nose a bit, I guess is the best way to put it. So at the end of the day, I think like both are going to utilize something like this, but at the same time, it's going to be something that most people won't even notice. Like, this is the thing when I'm telling you, if there is any kind of thing like this could be a thing, right, where on a game, on a third-party game, maybe they choose to use DLSS on the PlayStation 5 version to do 4K 60 with ray tracing, and maybe they can get 1880p or 1800p on the Xbox Series X version or whatever. You're not going to see any difference whatsoever. So again, this is going to be probably some bad news for people that were maybe thinking that Xbox would have this huge advantage. And I keep telling people that don't expect this huge like day-night advantage over the PlayStation 5, because you're gonna feel foolish at the end of the day, because it's not gonna be there. And I don't mean that as a fanboy or anything like that. I just think that people think that there's this huge gulf, and a lot of that has to do with influencers and things like that. And at the end of the day, I think that everybody can do much better than that. You know what I mean? I think it's a little bit disingenuous to go out there and be like, well, things are going to look so much better on Xbox, and it's going to really put PlayStation in its place. Like, I don't think that that's going to be the case at all, and I do think that it's going to be very interesting to see how that sort of plays out next generation when these games, when you think about it, PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X, there's a 40%, 45% difference in between there, between the power. Now, with the Xbox Series X and the PS5, there's only a 16 to 18% difference. That is not very much at all, and I've kind of gone over this time and time again. It really comes down to also the developers, and you have to keep in mind, Microsoft has the lowest common denominator with the Xbox Series S. They also have all these low-spec PCs that they have to hit. All their games have to run on phones, and that streaming service, so that's another thing they have to keep in mind. They have to launch on an Xbox One if it's first party for the next couple of years as well. Again, all this stuff kind of comes back at them, and it's going to be very funny to see how this kind of pans out. I don't think it's going to pan out very well for Microsoft. I kind of foresee them possibly going the third-party route, even from comments from Phil Spencer himself today, make it seem like maybe that's going to option that they're going to go for sooner or later. But I will link all this stuff in the description. Thank you so much for watching one of my videos. Take the time out to maybe consider subscribing. I would definitely appreciate that. Please stay safe and take care of one another. Game on, my friends. Game on. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.